see that?
Thanks for watching. And of course, subscribe. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Haunting Live Podcast. Thank you very much for taking your time out of your special holiday weekend this episode and tuning in for us here tonight at Haunting Live. We greatly appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week here, and especially this week. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Tonight we do have a special guest waiting, so we'll bring her on in just a moment. But tonight we have reached episode number 29 already. I can't believe we've already reached almost 30 episodes here at Haunting Live Podcast. We've had some great times. We had some great and amazing guests on in the past, and especially tonight we have a wonderful guest lined up for you tonight. Her name is MaryAnne Kennedy, and she is a internationally acclaimed medium as well as a host of a local TV show. And we're going to talk about what she does and all that tonight with her. But just wanted to thank you guys so much for taking time out in your busy long weekend here in Canada. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And thanks very much for taking your time to come into Haunting Live tonight. We appreciate all you guys coming in each and every week here and supporting us like you do. So with that, we won't keep it too much longer and bring in our special guest. Her name is MaryAnne Kennedy. She is a medium and a author, and she does other stuff as well, like a host of her own show called Ghosts of Dufferin County and Beyond here locally. So we're going to talk to her and just bring her on in just a second here. So let's just switch right over to her and see if she's doing here. 1 second. Hi MaryAnne, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us here on Haunting Live Podcast tonight.
You're most welcome. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so basically you're a pretty well-known medium here in the area, so we thank you for coming on and being a guest here on Haunting Live. We want to talk to you a little bit about your background, what you do as a medium. So let's start with that. How did you first get into the mediumship, and what drew you into that?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. It's a question I get asked a lot. I came to mediumship sort of later in life. I came to mediumship in adulthood. When I was a kid, I talk about this a lot in my book, but when I was a kid, I had a spiritual practice related to some earth-based religion practices, meditation, energy type stuff, communicating with nature. But I didn't have any mediumistic experiences, nothing major anyway. But I actually came to mediumship not through childhood, not through like being born through a lineage of mediums. I chose to learn mediumship after I lost my dad. And so it was like a very conscious choice for me to learn to communicate with spirit. The outset of that for me happened to be, mediumship's never easy, but it came fairly naturally to me, probably because I had already had many years and experiences of meditation and being silent and all of that stuff. So that sort of really helped in my development. My development happened fairly quickly. But I took that time, which is important for all mediums. Good mediumship is a slow development process. And so, sitting in development circles, did all that type of thing. But that's really what brought me to it. Was actually out of my own personal loss, without having any, early childhood experiences with spirit. Other than, some of those ones that a lot of people tend to have, like, seeing a grandparent sit at the end of your bed, etc., but not real communication with, non-form beings, nothing major anyway. But that's it. That's what brought me to it.
Okay, let's go back to that point then a little bit. Was there any experiences that you did experience as a child growing up that kind of was like your wow moment? Like, okay, I might be a little bit different than somebody else. I'm seeing strange things or hearing strange things. Was there one that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, for sure there was. But it really was after, when I was about 11 years old, I started studying Wicca, paganism, earth-based stuff. And I did that formally with a mentor and a teacher. And it wasn't until after that I started to have some experiences. But one in particular I remember, I must have been 11, maybe I was 12. And I remember being at a friend's house. And at the time, her mom had seen a psychic. I remember that. And then the mom had said that the psychic had told her that there was some spirit activity in her house. That's all that I knew about it. And that really intrigued me because at the time I was learning about, paranormal, spirituality, all kinds of things, and at like 11, 12 years old, your mind just soaks all of this stuff up. And so what we had decided to do after the mom shared that with us was I wanted to actually find something in the house. And in fact, we did. It was my first experience with seeing like an apparition, and an apparition that more than a single person could see. So two of us could see it at the same time. And it was a small boy. And it was very freaky at the time because he was really sort of squished and crouched on a shelf in a closet. So in between the shelf and the ceiling, and just staring at us. And he was actually quite frightened of us, the fact that we noticed him. But so that's one that really stuck out. And you know what, like a lot of young people, a lot of the adults I work with now, whether it's for, teaching them psychic investigating, teaching them mediumship, teaching them psychic practice, much like a lot of them, there were experiences they had when they were younger that caused them to shut down. And it's usually out of fear, and it's the unknown, and no one could help you along to figure out what was going on. And so your natural, response is going to be, I'm afraid of that. And then our natural response to fear is to withdraw. And so that very experience when I was 11 or 12 totally freaked me out at the time. And I thought, I'm not going ghost hunting anymore. It's funny how things change as time goes on, but I definitely had that experience that sort of shut me down and said, okay, I don't want to go exploring that stuff anymore.
Right, and that's one thing that I guess a lot of people do experience, right? When they do have their very first paranormal encounter, whether it's a spirit or just energy in period, it kind of is a frightening experience. So what would you recommend to somebody that just had their first experience as a teacher of the paranormal and mediumship?
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I was just doing an episode of my show, and I just, and actually with Jackie Dennison, who's a wonderful, amazing human being. And we just had this very discussion. So now you and I are having it too. So yeah, one of the things that really frightens people, whether you're a kid or whether you're an adult, is when you don't have all the details, you don't really know the lay of the land, what's going on, who this is, what it's all about, and what the sort of, what your options are. And so, there's also this misconception like that we can be hurt, right? And there's such power to the form body that, I always say to people, spirit presence, you're not going to be hurt by this. Can you be impacted and bothered by it? And can your own fear body cause a disturbance in your life? For sure. Can you have an energy attachment that then impacts your personality and all of those? Yes, you can. But the spirit world can't kill you. So it's this really like fundamental thing that's important for folks to understand, is that really there's not anything to be afraid of. Can you be impacted? You can. Can you power yourself out of that? You can. So the most important thing, I think, when we're frightened by something is that we're missing information. And so learning is really important. And whether the learning is you discovering it on your own, what's behind this, what's gone on, what am I to do? What can I do with this? Either learning it on your own or connecting with someone. A lot of the clients that I see throughout the year, right? Most of the people I sit with privately is in mediumship, but often spiritual guidance. And in the spiritual guidance sessions, a good number of those are folks saying, this is what happened to me, and I don't know what was going on. Can you help me understand? Because I'm totally bothered by this. And then, of course, I also, as part of the show, visit people's homes and businesses and properties to help them understand what's going on, and then usually do some clearing or releasement work. I also do that in private practice. So a lot of the times I'll go to a home and, or a business or, some sort of public space where people are having experiences that are pretty scary to them, and they feel pretty disempowered and uncomfortable in their own home. So, I never just go to a place to learn what's going on, to investigate it and then clear it. It's always part of sort of like my mission to empower the person that I'm there for, which is going to be the person that, lives in that space. So there's always an educational session with me, even if I'm coming out strictly to do work for you at your home.
Right, too. And when you do go to some places, is it often that they're calling you in because they've had an experience already? Or is it that they're going through something they don't understand, so you help them sort of teach them to understand what it is exactly they're dealing with? So do you sort of guide them through that?
Yeah, it can go either way. Usually both kind of things are happening. Often I'll get called out to a place that someone's just purchased or just moved into, and they just feel like I feel unsettled here. It doesn't feel like my space. I feel like there's all this, residual stuff, or there might be some stuff going on spirit wise. I'm not sure. So there's usually some sort of disturbance that has gone on, whether it's an experience within the space itself or what's happening in someone's personal life. And they just feel like this cloud of heaviness around them. And in that case, this is not anything spirit related, but it's energy related, and it requires clearing all the same, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Energy is energy. So it just depends on how that person is interacting with it. They can realize that, well, they're not sure what that energy is. So they may think it's a negative energy, but maybe that spirit or energy is just reaching out for some help. So, which is sort of where you come in.
Yeah. And I'm really, care. I mean, language has power. Everything holds a vibration. And so, I typically, I won't characterize something as negative. You have something negative happening here. Everything holds consciousness. Everything is vibrationally alive, and it'll just sit somewhere on a scale of something higher or something lower or somewhere in between or whatever that looks like. And so I think that we have to be careful, not only just as individuals experiencing things, but especially as, for professionals, to not characterize things as like positive or negative or evil and those types of things. I mean, those are like human ascribed attributes. And I don't even believe in this language. So, if someone has, and the other thing too, is that even if it's a spirit presence, if there's an entity present, something happening there, this is also consciousness, and it's a soul or a fragment of a soul. And it, at its most basic level, it's made of the same stuff we're made of. And, this is one of the discussions I have, is that, even the folks in the spirit world, non-transition spirits or grounded spirits or ghosts, they are souls too. And so even though they might not feel, benevolent, they might feel quite opposite to that. They have soul journeys too, and they've just kind of like halted theirs. And often, we need to go in and help them carry on that sort of process. But sort of describing those things, folks, usually the emails that come into the office say, I have a negative presence in my house, right? That's the first thing that they say, or there's something evil happening here. And so, we need to coach through that language too, because that language in itself makes you feel very victim to your circumstances. And, we have our very right to claim the power of our space as our own. And so it's important for us to stay in that energy, especially, and it's really difficult to do that without someone assisting you to do it. So it's part of the work that I do.
Right. And day to day with your work as a medium and how you developed your mediumship, is that different from day to day how you use it now? Like, how did you develop it from the start to where you are now from your day to day work? Is it different from when you started?
Like, which is what different? My experience with it, or how I do it, or
how you interact with it, or how you manage your mediumship from day to day now? Has it grown? Like, have you become stronger day to day with your work? And
yeah, I mean, spirit communication, like anything, gets better and better the longer you do it, right? But however, there's a bit of a caveat there, because it's like saying all practice is equal, and I actually don't believe that. You have to be doing good practice, because you could be continuously doing poor practice, right, over and over and over again. Even though you're spending a lot of time in it and doing it a lot, the quality of the work that you're doing isn't great. So you kind of have to be a little bit discerning about thinking that way. Any practice in mediumship makes you better. That's not really true. The practice has to be good. But yeah, I mean, when I was a student, just like anybody else, it was very exciting. You want to tune into spirit everywhere. And then, when you work professionally, you never feel like, I never feel like I need to give somebody a reading, right? Like, I don't need it. And it's funny, like on a personal level, like years ago when I first started working professionally, when you meet new people, all they want to do is talk about spirit with you. And they're like, can you do a reading for me? And it's like, it's totally not. Like, I would much rather meet new friends than talk about, like, who spends that much time talking about what they do, right? Like, I'm not interested in doing it. So it's really great to meet people and have new friends that, they know what you do, but it's not something that we need to talk about all the time. Because for me, it's just ordinary life, right? And then, of course, when you work, as I say, go into professional work, you at some point have to establish a very strong boundary, right? Like, spirits are everywhere. I can go grocery shopping. I can go eat lunch or eat dinner somewhere. And for sure, there's humans there. There's going to be spirit people there. But I have zero awareness of them, because I choose not to. For me, it's like a light switch. And I teach students that as well, right? You do not have to always be on, right? The only spirit energy that I'm always open to are my own team. So it's my own guides, my own loved ones, right? But your people, this person's people, I mean, I will tune into them when my switch is on, which says open, right? Like medium sign on. And then when I'm done for the day, closed. So that's sort of how I work.
Yeah, just like the open and close sign at your shop. You turn it on when you're ready, then close it off when you're done. So, what has been one kind of outstanding moment that you kind of had in your past when you've just been generally, say, like you just said, say out for dinner or out shopping or something, and spirit has interrupted you? What's kind of one moment that you remember?
It's a good question, actually. I know there are two. Okay, I'll pick one of those. Um, all right, I'm just trying to think of this. Yeah, I was at a park actually I've got two kids. So I had my kids at the park with a neighborhood friend and their kids. And this was a number of years ago now, maybe probably my son was just born, so maybe 6 years ago, something like that. And the kids were playing. And so we were sitting at the bench, just chit-chatting, nothing in particular. And I got a very like strong, almost like something moved through me. So all my left side of my body just all lit up with goosebumps. And I mean, like any good professional, right? We can discern the quality of an energy. If it's a transient blob just moving through, and it won't feel good to us. But this felt very warm, but very strong to get my attention. And as soon as that happened, the neighbor friend I was sitting with, her kid, you know, those little bikes, they're like little tricycles that the parent pushes from behind. You ever seen those? So she had hers, it was just sitting in front of us, and it just started moving all on its own. So I said, so she said, oh my God, what's going on there? So then of course she was a friend of mine. So I said, okay, I'm going to tune in, find out what that's all about. Okay. And that was her grandmother. It was her grandmother trying to relay a message to her, which I don't need to share what the message was, but it was pretty important that she got that message, and it was pretty important that she got it that day.
Yeah, spirits have weird timing with things. They'll do things when you don't think you need it, but you probably need it the most right then. So I'm glad that she's able to see that and experience that and get her message, especially with you there, so that you can help translate it, for lack of a better word, to what she needs
exactly
to know.
Right.
So
yeah, you're exactly right. That's a good word. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so with that, let's change topics a little bit now and go into sort of what you do day to day. You are a mediumship. You work with medium and the mediumship field. So you also, though, work on your own TV show, correct?
Yeah.
Called Ghost of Dufferin County and Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of tell us about how that got started and how you got into that.
Yeah, well, it was a few years ago now, because we're just going to start. Well, we already started actually like season 3 filming, which like this, we're sort of doing it on Zoom right now, but soon to be on location, soon to have you on location with us. So that'll be great. Yeah, I mean, it was, I'm always open to inspiration from spirit, whether it's my book, whether it's my deck of cards, whether it's the 2020 Canadian Mediumship Summit that we have coming up. I'm always open to spirit's inspiration, because I'm a vessel for the work of the universe, just like you are. We're all here we have missions, our own personal ones, larger ones, even larger than that. And so, a few years ago, I had just a moment of clarity, a moment of inspiration that, this work that I really enjoyed doing, it would be great to be able to share that on a bigger level. So, it's just like my book, before I wrote my book, one of the questions I get asked is, what inspired you to write your book? Same thing, a moment of inspiration. I'm continuously sharing this message with people every single day. And I'm repeating myself over and over and over again every single day. And then I just felt like I needed to share that message of spirit in a bigger way to anybody that needed to hear it. And so same idea, it was the same inspiration for the show. So, in service to either folks here in the physical world having troubles, to the spirits that need assistance moving on. And also in my show in particular, I mean, I've had several episodes where I have students on. And so, they'll film a workshop that's, I'll teach an in-class portion, and then I'll take them to a location for a practicum. So actually go test out the stuff that you just learned. And so it's always a learning opportunity. And I like to bring guests on too for investigations, especially students that are new, because this is the thing about investigative work, and especially like spirit releasement work, is that you can't just like take a workshop and become a master at that, right? It takes like years of experience. So, and it's helpful to do it with a mentor so that you're doing it safely. So those things, when I talked about, oh, you can have an attachment come home with you, that type of thing, those things are very real. So when you work with someone who's experienced, you sort of, you're guided a little bit, and there's a little bit of safeguards in place, which is always helpful.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So when you teach your classes, you're able to have those students come on with you on a show. They get more exposure at the same time. So just sort of right into the fire kind of thing, like how spirit world works and kind of stuff. So that's great. You have a sort of outlet for them to join you.
Yeah.
So what are some of the places that you've been to? Is it shot locally around Ontario, or is it just Dufferin County, or do you stretch out pretty far? Or?
Yeah, we stretch out further than that, which is why we called it, well, actually, I shouldn't say we called it. It was just sort of this process of naming, but both of Dufferin County and beyond. Some of the places we've shot at, and then even just done workshops in and around, like we've done the, what's it called in Elora there? The Wellington County Museum and Archives. We've done there, which is incredibly spirited. We've done there. We've done Devereux House. We shot an episode there at Devereux House in Halton Hills. We've actually done the Barley Vine Rail Company restaurant in Orangeville. Did an investigation and clearing there on the show. Gosh, so many. I'm just trying to think. A couple of farmhouses, like large farm properties. Fanjoy restaurant in Hillsburg. That was one of my favorites. That was fantastic. Yeah, we've done a lot of locations.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about that last one you were just talking about. Tell us sort of
Fanjoy?
About the investigation and how that went.
Yeah, cool. Well, the most memorable thing about it was that, and this is, working with spirit, you never really know what's going to happen, right? You can do this for like years and years and years and say, this is probably what's going to happen, but really something new always happens. So at that particular location at Fanjoy, which by the way has incredible food, and it's like Pam, who runs this space, is like just an incredible human being. But one of the presences that we came across there took the form of the way that it was perceived, not only by me, but my partner in the episode as well, Dawn. We actually perceived it the same. So the way we perceive non-form reality is either, something subconsciously that we're cloaking over. We sort of throw a sheet over this vibrational information so that we can perceive it in some way. And each of us does that differently. Or the being itself is intelligent and wants you to see it a certain way. So an image is sort of projected to you. And both of us perceived this being as exactly the same. But the neat thing about it was that it sort of looked a bit like that character in Lord of the Rings. And I think it was Gollum. Is that a character? Is that a person? Is that a thing? I think it was, right? Is that the name?
I can't recall myself, but I think so.
Okay.
I think I know which one you're talking about, yes.
Okay, well, it looked like a little sort of goblin-looking man, but not a goblin, but looking like that, like a very, very short, narrow, gangly-looking thing. And our first awareness of him both happened when we visited the washroom, but we visited the washroom separately. So you'll see on film, I can hear Dawn saying, I just feel like there's this short thing looking at me. And then I had to go, I was out of the shot and I had to come into the shot and say, did you just say that you felt like there's this short thing looking at you? And she said, yeah. I said, that's what I just said. When I came into that washroom, I was looking at the mirror, and behind me, I felt like this little thing is peering at me. And so it was really fascinating for us both to perceive this energy in the exact same way. It was really cool.
So was that a human spirit or was it something else?
Yeah, actually it was at some point. And what's that?
Yeah, was it a human-based spirit, or it sounds like something more like elemental?
Yeah, it was.
Or something?
No, it actually was. It actually was. And some of the, so, when we do releasement work, you have to enter into some kind of dialogue with these beings, right? You have to have an understanding of what's happening, who they are, what their story is, because sometimes they have requests before because you can't force anybody. Oh, hold on, there's the internet glitch. Am I back?
Yeah, you're fine here on our end, so.
Okay. Oh, it just glitched. It just came on, said your internet's unstable. Like that's COVID in
yeah.
the rural areas. But Yeah, he was. So, as I was saying, when you do releasement work, you can't force anybody to move on with their journey, right? It doesn't work like that. And so, upon sort of entering into this dialogue with this being, he starts communicating with us the story of his experience, both when he was alive in that building, because he did actually he was in that building physically, and then his experience in sort of the afterworld of being sort of still attached to that place. And his energy just began to become more and more depleted and shrunken and shrunken and shrunken. So there was this sort of story of this evolution of how he felt as his essence. And so the way that we perceived that was like a shrunken man. Yeah.
Okay, so it was sort of more like how he was presenting himself to you guys, which you both picked up the same style he was presenting himself to you as, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So with COVID and everything that happening, are you filming a lot right now? Or like you said, you're probably just more doing Skype meeting type shows and online based shows?
Yeah. So lots of like almost all the filming, whether it's, in podcasts or, a couple of other shows or my show, almost everything is happening over Zoom, which, it's really lovely that we have this as an opportunity. Yeah, we have some plans in the next, I guess, maybe 6 weeks, 2 months to be on location at some pretty cool places. Yeah, bringing in some new elements to the show. Hint, hint, having some technological investigative aspects coming in as well. So yeah, we have a couple of on location stuff coming up, but we haven't done. Actually, we got really lucky because we finished filming season 2 at the end of January, beginning of February. And we filmed 7 episodes in like a very short period of time. And we had no idea what was coming next. And then come March, it was like, good thing we got our filming done now. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's probably a good question to ask you too. How long does it normally take you to shoot if you're out on location, like a normal shooting episode? How long does it normally take you guys to do one full episode?
Yeah, so we shoot it live, not live. We shoot it in sort of segments, and there's very little editing that happens. And we're doing this at a community level, and sort of that's why. But so what you see in an episode is very close to real time. So we'll shoot 45 minutes maybe for a half an hour, or we'll shoot for an hour and make a half an hour episode. But in saying that, we have shot a number of investigations. The Bell Fountain General Store, that was several hours of investigating and filming, and then that gets cut to half an hour. And when we shot the pilot for Ghosts of Dufferin County and Beyond, we actually filmed for 8 hours for a 1 hour episode. So that was exhausting.
Yeah, it can be. I know that firsthand as well. We had in the past did that kind of stuff as well for filming, so I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to having to be on set all the time and getting all that content done. So with that though, do you have any plans later on for the show? Like, is it going to grow into something more bigger that you hope, or is it going to be more community based still? Or
well, we just got word. Well, I just got word rather that it's now been put into 2 other communities. So it's actually running in 3 Ontario regions, which is wonderful. So who knows what, and that's just sort of in, Rogers TV hands. So they just sort of take care of that. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I have a wonderful producer and, camera stuff that we like, great people that we work with, and yeah, I mean, everybody wants to do more with it. So we just keep doing, as much as we feel, available and guided to do. So yeah, we'll just keep doing it the way that any way that we can, we'll do it.
yeah, and these times especially, right? Like, you have to adjust to the times. That's what we did here. For Haunting Live, we normally go out and do the same thing. We go to locations, we try to investigate and bring them live on our page here on Facebook. So, but now with COVID, we had to rearrange all that, and we do Haunting Live podcast now from home with guests like yourself, and just do what we can in these times. So,
yeah, well, and I also just learned actually that. So October 31st, which is Halloween, they're actually running a Ghosts of Dufferin County and Beyond marathon in those 2 regions. So yeah, you check out your local, your Rogers TV channel in Dufferin, Caledon. I think it's Durham and Oshawa, I think. I actually can't remember the third one, but I'll type that in this later. Whatever that sort of third region is. So yeah, and it's cool because we have to shoot a commercial this weekend, but we're going to shoot it from home instead of going into the studio. So, c'est la vie. This is what life is like now.
Yeah, that's what everybody's doing now, just doing what they can and making the best out of the situation. So I'll wish you the best of luck with the show for sure, and looking forward to working with you in the future, we hope. Do you have any plans coming up in the next little while? Anything that's developed while you guys were down with COVID and stuff like that and the stressful times? And has any projects come up that you've been working on?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, what day is today? Saturday. So next weekend, we actually have the 2020 Canadian Mediumship Summit. And so that we sort of birthed that over the sort of COVID period. And so super excited to do that. That is featuring 6 of Canada's top mediums. And so I'm going to be doing that with Amber Price, Jay Lane, Jackie Dennison, Lisa Scrivens from Winnipeg, and Liz Throp. Did I just catch everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I did. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, we're going to be doing that. So that takes place Friday night. We'll be doing an open gallery reading and Q&A and welcoming everybody to the summit. And then next Saturday is a full day of learning from each of us. So each of us have teaching segments. There'll be 6 of them plus lunch. And all of it's recorded, and we're doing it all over Zoom, but it is live, it's real time. And so that's really exciting. We're going to be doing that sort of annually, but this is our first year doing it. So that's coming up. I just did an episode of the Psychic Diaries with Jackie Dennison, who also runs, along with Michael Lamport, the veryparanormal.com. And so I'm going to start contributing to that forum as well, which is great. I still do write articles for the Other Side Press, but I'll also now be doing that for veryparanormal.com. So I'll sort of share that when that gets going as well.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. You get your content out there, the more the better. So
yeah, and then of course I'm always finishing my second book, which has been taking me 6 years to do. But that, that's life. It's busy, and when you feel connected to it, you do it. But I'm still working on finishing that.
Yeah, do you have one that you have done already? You mentioned to me earlier that you have a couple of products out, a book and some cards as well that you want to promote.
Yeah. My book is called How to Become a Medium. It's a step-by-step guide to connecting with the other side. My publisher is out of New York, Library Tales Publishing. And so that was published in 2015. And yeah, it's been out for that long. It's reached worldwide audiences. I love getting emails from people from Portugal and Spain and the UK, and I've read your book and this is really helpful for me and all that stuff. And of course I teach mediumship, right? I have a school, the School of Mediumship and Spiritual Studies. And so all the students that work with me in any mediumship capacity, they start with the book. That's sort of what they start with. And then, yeah, I've authored a deck of oracle cards. It's called Messages from Spirit. And yeah, it's a fantastic deck to work with, whether you're intuitive or not intuitive. You can use them as daily inspiration, or you can do them to actually, do a full card spread reading for somebody if you'd like to do that too.
Okay, great. Sounds amazing. You got a full busy schedule going on there, so it sounds like you're pretty packed full. So thank you so much, though, for taking time out to come on to Haunting Live Podcast tonight here with us. So it's been amazing having you as a guest, and we're honored to have you on the show tonight. So
thank you so much. What a lovely night.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much, and we will talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, thank you, everybody. That was MaryAnne Kennedy speaking to us from her location in Ontario. Coming to us, we're very honored to have her on as our guest tonight here on Haunting Live Podcast. And with that, we'll just go over our usual little bit of things we do here on the podcast with everybody. Thank you guys so much, first of all, for taking time out on your busy holiday weekend. It is Thanksgiving Day weekend here in Canada, so thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. If you do end up missing the live podcast here tonight, and we hope you tune in every week. We are here every week at 8 o'clock on Saturday nights. Sometimes we have a guest, sometimes we don't, sometimes we'll do something different. Like coming up later on Halloween, we have a very special edition coming up. A Halloween special. We're going to do something a little different that we've never done before. We have a very special guest coming on that's going to co-host with us. His name is Giovanni. He is host of Rogers TV on Giovanni and Me. He's also done a fairly well-known show called Swap Shop on Rogers TV. And he is a friend of ours, so he's agreed to come on to the podcast and do our Halloween special this year. We worked with him over the last couple of years on his show on Rogers. So we're just going to swap shows and see how that goes. We're going to do kind of like a true or false trivia type night. And should be fun, a lot of laughs, and he's a very hilarious type comedian type person, but also a little bit skeptical, so he's going to be on the skeptic comedic side of things for the paranormal, and we'll bring him in on Halloween night, so looking forward to that. But if you guys don't catch us live, we're live every Saturday night here on HauntingLIVE Podcast. You can also listen later on to us, either on our YouTube channel. We always upload every episode onto our YouTube channel, which is just HauntingLIVE Podcast under OGPS Filming as well. Or you guys can check us out on the different podcast apps that are out there. We are now serviced by the podcast apps, which are Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, and a whole bunch of others. So you guys can just go to our search any of your favorite podcast apps and find Haunting Live Podcast and listen whenever you guys have time. So we greatly appreciate your support, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to go over a couple things just before we sign off here tonight. A little bit shorter night than normal, but that's all right. It is a long weekend, so we don't want to keep you guys too long tonight. But again, thank you very much for tuning in and supporting us here at Haunting Live. Another way that you guys can actually support us as well is by going to our website. We revamped our website when COVID hit, and we had time to sit down and redo it all and all that. So we do have a brand new website launched. It's HauntingLivePodcast.com, and you can get there and check everything out on our website. So we have everything on there from public events that we do, which we have coming up that I'll talk about in a minute here. Our next public event, it's on there. We do also have our merch store on the website as well. We are selling a bunch of items on the store, mainly items that we use in the paranormal field that we wanted you guys to have access to as well. So we got great pricing and great deals, and all the products like crystals. We have some homemade products like spiritual bags you can store your tarot cards in or your crystals in. We have smudging supplies and cleansing supplies on there. We have some consignment supplies from our very good friend who runs a channel over on YouTube. She does hers on Sunday nights, the Queen of Ooga Booga, and you can check her stuff out on Sunday nights at 9 o'clock on her YouTube channel. We have some cleansings that she sells on our website as well. So head on over to our merch store, check out our merch, and see what you want to purchase from our merch store there as well, if you want to support us in that way. The other way you can help support us is there is a donate button as well on our website at the very bottom. On the bottom of our website, a blue button. If you feel like supporting us, go in there and just any donation is fine. We don't ask for any dollar amount, but whatever you feel like sending in goes to us directly and gets us out there for more Haunting Live podcast locations when they're ready to go back out and do live locations. So that's what that's for on our website. So we highly recommend going to check out our website at HauntingLivePodcast.com. And other than that, we do still have, I'll talk a little bit about our upcoming public event now. We've been having this ready and scheduled since the springtime, and unfortunately that's when COVID hit, so we weren't allowed to host our event at that time. And we rescheduled it for November, hoping things would be calmed down by then, by the fall. Unfortunately, of course, numbers right now are on the rise, and there's been some new restrictions in Ontario. But thankfully, it's not affecting the main part of Ontario, just certain hotspot regions, and our numbers are still safe enough to continue with our public event coming up in November. So we have capped our event at certain numbers, though, to keep the group small. It is sold out right now. But what we're doing on the Friday night, on November the 6th, we are hosting a Queen's Spiritual Talk. So it goes to the Queen's Spiritual Talk. It's going to be broadcast live on our Facebook right here. And it is a paid event. You still have to pay to watch it online on our Facebook. But you guys can just use that as a donation towards us, and you'll get free access to the talk part of that Friday evening at the Queen's Inn in Stratford. So go check that event out. It's right now on our Facebook. We are still accepting spots for that virtual event. You guys can check it out. Those that can't make it there live will be able to still watch it with us. So go check out that event on our Facebook. That's available right now. So other than that, not too much going on this weekend. We're just kind of taking it easy here at HauntingLIVE. So I think we will end it there for tonight. But thank you guys so very much for tuning in. We appreciate all your support, and continue to come in every single week here with us here at HauntingLIVE Podcast every week at 8 o'clock. So with that, we will talk to you guys later. Have a safe weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving. And remember to not do large groups and family gatherings this weekend. Keep them small to your family only. And if you have to visit friends and stuff, do it virtually. So like we're doing right now. So thanks very much, guys. Have a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thanks very much to our special guest tonight, MaryAnne Kennedy. She was amazing, and very honored to have her on here at HauntingLIVE Podcast. So with that, guys, have a great night, and we'll talk to you next week.
Did you hear that?
Thanks for watching. And of course, subscribe.